Good afternoon. Welcome to the annual State of the City Address. I'm Becky Craig with the Vacaville Chamber of Commerce, and we are so happy to host this event. Mayor Augustine is going to be our presentation today with City Manager Jeremy Craig, and we will be available for questions at the conclusion. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for coming this afternoon. Mark Mazzaferro, our Public Information Officer, is going to be driving this presentation, so if anything messes up, it's him. Just remember that right off the bat. So if you want to go to the first slide. Whenever we put together our presentation, we always try to think of a theme for the year. We decided for this year's theme, we were going to test everyone in the room to see if they had kids or they paid attention. So our theme is Vacaville Go. For those of you who may not have kids, Pokemon Go took the world by storm last year. I mean, just to give you an idea, we looked this up. Pokemon Go had 750 million individual downloads this year for the game. In case you don't know, downtown Vacaville is the epicenter of Solano County Pokemon Go. Pokemon Go puts special pieces around monuments and significant items. So when you go downtown and you have things like School Street Bridge or Old City Hall, they all have special things around them. So if you come down on a Saturday or Sunday afternoon, you'll see hundreds of people in Andrews Park and through the downtown playing Pokemon Go. So the good news is we can say Vacaville Go because so many great things happened last year and so many things are on pace for this year. So we're going to run with this theme. So I'm going to let the mayor begin, as we always do, is discussing our strategic plan.
Yeah, this is what we do every year is we talk about why we have this organized like we do, and it's because of the strategic plan. Steve Wilkins and I, back in 1996, wrote a strategic plan for the city, took it to the city council, and they voted it down 5-0. That's why I ran for the city council. And within 6 months after being elected, we did have a strategic plan for the city. It's morphed into those 4 items up there. Public safety is our primary thing. We always feel that if you have a safe city, people will be out in the streets, going to restaurants and spending money at the different market venues that we have. Strengthen the local economy. I like to call it economic vitality rather than development, because we want to make sure businesses that are here currently are also doing well and not just bringing new businesses in. And then third, community viability. We want to make sure that neighborhoods are getting together. Last year at the National Night Out, there were 44 areas of Vacaville that had separate barbecues on the streets. And so we like to see that, people getting together, instead of arguing with each other, having fun together. And then finally, effective and efficient city services, and we'll be talking about each of these items as we go through the program. So I think, by the way, I've kind of told Jeremy that he's got most of the work today because I got my cough back. I had it for 6 weeks, it went away, and last night it came back. So I've been coughing all night. Maybe I won't do it today. But in any case, Jeremy, you got the next part.
Thank you, Mayor. Our first item in the strategic plan is ensuring public safety. So we always want to start with the numbers. So if you look at 16-17, Part 1 crimes, these are what we consider the significant crimes. Overall, we're up about 2.3% on the year. If you note, when it comes to larceny, you see a pretty sizable uptick there. Robbery down, so we're making progress in some areas. We're seeing a lot of, because of prison realignment, we have a lot of repeat people on the streets, some frequent flyers we're seeing often. So a lot of these larceny crimes you see are what we call smash and grab. You leave something out on your front seat, it's appealing to someone, they smash the window and they grab it. So we're working on a lot of details, a lot of ways to try to work with our providers. Our community response unit in PD is working directly with a lot of the centers, especially Simon and the Nut Tree, on how we can better be more visible, educate people on how these things come about. So if you don't have stuff visible, you're less likely to be hit. So we're working with people to make those less likely to occur, but also to educate all our business owners that if you see something, we have a community response unit in our PD that's out actively looking at these types of crimes, and we can help you. One of the significant items of 2017, for many of you, this is well known, is the cold case homicide 34 years after 14-year-old Deanna Johnson was killed. So November 1982, a 14-year-old girl here in Vacaville was murdered. This is a case that the police department never let go of. And many detectives over careers have worked on this case, and last year we finally got to the point that Matt Leyden, our lieutenant, was able to get a probable cause, and so we've placed Marvin Markle, a former classmate of Deanna's, under arrest for her murder. This drew national attention for it being such a large cold case, but I think what it demonstrates is in the city, in our departments, We take these serious. We solve cases here, and we don't let go of them. And so a lot of these cases that might get filed away, they stay here, they stay current, and in this case, we were able to find some justice for the family, even though it was several decades later. One piece of ensuring public safety and accountability of the community is having the right equipment. And so one of the significant investments in 2017 that the council and mayor made was really threefold. One, the mobile command vehicle. So oftentimes in an emergency situation, having the ability to have a mobile command center on site near the emergency or near the event is crucial in our response time, having the right ability when we need it. So this year, we were actually able to purchase a large recreational vehicle, had it upfitted to be a mobile command center. It's already been deployed several times. Great example, during Merriman on Main, 14,000 people downtown for the tree lighting. This mobile command center was up and running in Gold's Gym parking lot. So it was there, it was ready to be response. All our security detail worked out of it. So it's a tool that really helps the community. Likewise, the city made a large investment last year in body-worn cameras. Unfortunately, you see some cases in the news where these body-worn cameras come. It provides a level of accountability to not only the police department, but to the community, because it provides an idea of what's going on during an actual incident. Likewise, with the Axon contract, we did body-worn cameras. We're also installing dash cameras into our vehicles. To give you an idea of the importance of that, we actually had an interaction last year where during an attempted stop, the person actually backed up into the police vehicle, trapped the officer, and we ended up in a shooting situation where the officers had to discharge their weapons. The camera was able to show the exact detail of the occurrence, what happened right up to the incident, so we had a clear accountability of what happened. There was no question. So the cameras are providing a great deal of protection, a great deal of accountability, so we're really excited to get those in and up and running. The third part of that contract with Axon was our tasers, our less lethal device that the officers carry. In any attempt we can to not draw the actual service weapon in the taser situation, having an effective taser that they're well trained on, sometimes we can de-escalate a situation without any major injury. So those are significant investments when you consider putting those in every officer's hands. And we re-upped those contracts last year, and that new equipment's being installed. Another part of ensuring public safety is communicating with the public. So the city's made a pretty large investment in social media presence, and the police department, they've done a great deal of work over the past 2 years, really, to provide contacts. To give you an idea, through the Facebook account last year, we reunited people with lost wedding rings. We found perpetrators. I mean, there was a lot of communication went back and forth, but oftentimes it literally is just communication. It's letting people know why a road is closed or why this light is out. And for a lot of the community, just knowing that helps. You know, it helps them to understand it. And then sometimes that communication is two-way, and we do get information shared from someone through our Facebook page that helps to either decrease a crime or solve a crime. So it's been a very effective tool for our department.
They have 37,000 followers.
One of the things that we as a community have been going through, and we're not any different than most of the business community, is turning over staff as people begin to retire. So this year we actually had one of our largest academy classes ever in our fire department. You're seeing 13 bright, smiley faces that the chief hasn't ruined yet, right? They're still in good moods. No joke, putting on an academy, actually training these people, getting them ready to come into service to the community is a major investment. And we had a great team that spent a lot of weeks with these folks. When these people came and got sworn in, it was a big deal to the community. In talking to a lot of our older guys on the floor, they really like this class. They're really good people. They're going to serve the community well. And a lot of them, let me just give you an idea, and one of the members actually messed up his ankle during training. They were running Wyckoff, and he twisted his ankle. They picked him up and carried him back. They didn't let him not fail. So it was very cool to see this class come together. They're going to be a big part of our community going forward, and we're excited to get them deployed. One thing about 2017 we'll remember, especially in the fire service, is the significant fire season we had. Just not too far away from us, our friends in Sonoma County. But just to give you an idea of the impact on our department, even though we didn't directly have fires here, we reported 15 separate statewide incidents. We had 76 total personnel assigned. Aggregate days worked on those fires was 602 days. And the projected reimbursement for the overtime incurred is about $1.6 million. So very significant, very active fire season. We've got great crews, we've got great strike teams that go out and they keep people safe. Sometimes on the line, our people are employed as medics. They're out helping the firefight by helping make sure the firefighters stay safe. So it's a good training for them, but something we don't want to repeat in 2018. We could use a break fire season. So our next initiative is strengthening the local economy, and the mayor
just to add a little bit about the fire. We had a big fire last year, and a lot of mutual aid was provided from other fire departments, including Travis Air Force Base, and our fire department was in charge of trying to organize all of that. They did such a great job as the fire came over the hill that not one fence was burned, nor any outbuildings or anything in the back, no sheds. So we lost nothing, basically, and that's really a tribute to the fire department, who do a great job. We appreciate what they do for us every day. We'll strengthen the local economy. This is one of the things that we're really working hard on this year. We hired Don Burris, who is an economic development guy, and he's been doing a great job for us. I don't see him in the audience. In fact, he's working today, I think, out there. But he's done a great job, and we have been found. I will tell you that a lot of stuff is coming forward. But we also have people within the community who are trying to open businesses, and they know nothing about that. So in conjunction with the Chamber of Commerce and the Solano Community College, as well as the Small Business Development Center, we put together a 6-week program to train people to have the skills and also the ability to open a business. And so the final product for them was they had a business plan at the end that they could produce to the city and then start their businesses. And so we're very hopeful that they will be successful because they have a good start. That 6 weeks, I think, is going to be a big benefit to them. So downtown, Brooke Fox, who's here, I think, there she is. She's the new executive director of the Vacaville Business Improvement District downtown. She's already done some great things. First thing I know she did, and it's not even on the slides or anything, but she's gone out and actually solicited businesses, bringing them into the downtown. So I want to thank her for that. But she also has changed some things. The farmers market's going to move this year, and she's got some big plans for that. And we want to thank Brooke for taking on that job. New initiatives, more education, and also I think more attractions for people to come downtown. And so we want to thank you for that. There'll probably be a few less events in the town square, which maybe take some pressure off of you to put one on every week. Or, you know, I think we had like 174 the year before she got here, and that's a little too much. So, and also they're developing a master plan for the downtown area. So we're excited about that. I think there's more slides that's going to talk about East Main Street, but East Main Street development is going to be a mixed-use thing with apartments upstairs, townhouses, as well as businesses downstairs. And all of the spaces for the businesses, I understand, are taken except for one. And that may be full now, too. So we'll see some new restaurants and some new other kind of businesses downtown, including a brew pub, I believe. So we'll go to the next slide. And that is, it is the signs. The city of Vacaville has decided that we'd like to have some blade signs downtown. So this is a new attractive kind of look for the downtown. I think we've seen that in a lot of places where you have a very walkable community, and this is a very walkable community, so they're not meant for driving down the street and seeing and finding a parking place. In fact, the downtown years ago, as you may know, you could lay in the middle of the street and nothing would ever happen to you. But now the street is very busy and it's hard to find a parking place. And the amazing thing is we'll have fiesta days and we'll have other activities down there, like, for example, the lighting of the Christmas tree in November, at the end of November. And it's amazing, there'll be 17,000 people show up and we never get one complaint, which is amazing. Now during the week when people who own businesses want to park, they sometimes call me and say, there's not enough parking. And I say, well, don't park in front of your store. There'll be an extra space for somebody. All right, but I think the blade signs have looked really excellent, and I'm really happy to see that. By the way, we don't rehearse these things. We just kind of wing it, so that's what you're seeing right now going on. The next thing is a new micro website. This is great. In fact, this is one of the best websites I've ever seen. I can actually control and navigate through this thing. And so I really highly recommend you take a look at this new website. It's a micro website with the collateral materials, advisory committee, ads in major media, tours, all those kind of things are going to take place. And you'll be able to find stuff very easily just by clicking on one of those pictures. And they have meaning, but from here, it's hard to describe. But those, oops, go back. I actually asked Mark to do this, give me time to look at some next page. No, there we go. So you can see the kind of activity that's happening, the good streetscape that we have, as well as East Main Street being shown up. We also have a lot of people in attendance. I think that probably was at Christmas time. So we're really pleased with all the choices we have. Plus, there's many, many more. When you think about Marymount on Main, Kids Fest, Fiesta Days, and you can go on and on and on. There's a lot of activities, about one a month, that take place in our downtown, and it brings people in. And I think we really have been found, like I say. A lot of people love the downtown. And I often stop as I'm walking down the street and ask where people are from. It's amazing how many people are from out of town nowadays, too, and that's very helpful. Next slide.
Mayor, if we could, real quick. Mark, if you could jump back and just go to the city profile real quickly. I just want to point out, over the past 3 years, we've invested heavily in our infrastructure for economic development, especially on the website. This information is done through about 96 databases, and it produces this information. We get it updated quarterly. So in your business, if you're looking for information like this, reach out to myself, to Mark, to Don Burris. We are, like for example, who knew that 20 to 29 is our biggest demographic in town? So that gives you a sense. So all this information is readily available. It's updated quarterly. It's on our website. And if you need help using it, please reach out. We've invested to make this information available. We want the community to use it as well. So if you have questions, please let us know. We'd be happy to help you and walk you through demographics, business profiling. We can map. There's a lot of really good data that's out here that you can take advantage of for your business.
Do you want to show something? Only that it's a tool that's already been used by a lot of companies that are looking to come to Vacaville. And I would say in the last 6 months, we've just been, dare I say it, overwhelmed with visits from investors, developers, looking at the properties that are in town. Lots of interest in our community right now.
And Mark is well versed in what's happening in town. I'll tell you, the other day, if you haven't heard, Noah's Bagels has opened in Vacaville. And so they opened up early in the morning, and Mark happened to go by and bring some bagels to City Hall. And when he did, he sat down at his little keyboard, and he typed in that was Noah's Bagels was open. So Noah's Bagel called City, and they said, we don't know what's happening. At 10 o'clock, we were slammed. Everybody showed up. Well, they said they really had to really work hard to kind of keep up with the business. And if you haven't had a Noah's Bagel, they are very, very good. So next slide. Choices. This is all about attraction and retention again. A lot of advertisements in Western Real Estate Magazine, Site Selection Magazine, development of collateral materials for use in city tours. We've done a lot of tours recently. In fact, I can't mention a business or anything, but somebody walked in the other day. We thought they were going to look for a tour, and they actually made a proposal on a piece of property that they want to buy immediately with a big development going to take place. And so we get pretty excited about that. They don't tell me all these things, by the way, that are happening. I have to dig for them. So, but seriously, the site selectors and real estate managers are very interested in this kind of information, and so all of a sudden we're getting a lot of business. And I really attribute a lot of it to Mark Mazzaferro here. He sometimes complains he doesn't get any headlines, but he does a great job. So give him a round of applause. Now I won't have to hear anything for about 6 months. That'd be great. Okay, next slide. Again, you want to handle this one?
Sure. One of the challenges we've had is, as a group, when we've looked at Vacaville, how do we tell the Vacaville story? Frankly, most of you that grew up here or lived in the area know the Vacaville story. You know what we have to offer. Outside of the community, when we reach down to the Bay Area especially, what we hear is, oh yeah, that's the place I used to get a big cookie on the way to Tahoe. And they don't know the Vacaville story. So we decided rather than us trying to tell the story, we would go to the community itself, get people in the business park to tell their story about why their company is in Vacaville. So I think Mark's got a few videos just to give you an example of what we've been doing.
When we originally came back in, I believe, 1980, it was for 3 main reasons, and the first was traffic. So our business was in the Bay Area, and our clientele are mostly in the greater Bay Area, and traffic had become a real problem for us. And moving to Vacaville, even though it was further from most of our customers, actually decreased the time for our deliveries. Second was employee availability, so it was getting really tough in the markets we were operating in to find great employees. Vacaville was an improvement immediately and has remained one. And then this is the kind of place you want to raise your family. One of the best ways that Vacaville has benefited our business is in just the quality of life that Vacaville provides for its residents. So things like public safety, affordability of housing, and parks, things like that has made this the kind of place where our employees really thrive. And we've had very low turnover and a relatively easy time growing our business with our employee base here. We see our business growing, doubling a couple of times over the next 10 years. And yes, it's absolutely connected to Vacaville. Our family has put down roots here, and I think it's because Vacaville is a good place to live and to work.
Hey, wait a minute. You want me to show another one?
Yeah.
Sure.
So originally we came to Vacaville because we wanted to be somewhere on the West Coast, because we wanted to be close to Asia, where we had a lot of business interests. And we looked everywhere up and down, and we found that Vacaville was one of the most friendly places for business and had one of the only economic development people that were willing to even sit down and talk to us, to welcome us and say, yes, we would be interested to have you set your company up here. So that's the main reason why we ended up here in Vacaville. So Vacaville has been very good for our business because it's a breeze to work with the local city council, to work with economic development people. It's a small, close-knit community, and the land cost is more reasonable out here. And it's been really easy to work through the permitting process when we need to get stuff done. If we need to, talk to the Air Quality Management District, or, to get a building permit, you can tell that certain cities are more geared to helping business than others, and we definitely feel that here in Vacaville.
One more.
You want to, okay.
One more. This is the first time I've seen him. I want to see him too.
ICON came to Vacaville over every other city and state, and there were multiple ones that made offers to us, because every time we asked for help, the answer was yes. The benefits for ICON here in Vacaville are we have an excellent labor force, we have affordable housing, we've got a lot of jobs that are open for people, and we're getting good high quality recruits for our employees, and we can fly 10 months out of the year. The weather's fantastic. Vacaville's centrally located, and it's affordable, and it's got a can-do attitude. There's a wonderful relationship between ICON and the city and Solano Community College, where we're drawing from their A&P students who are graduating with an FAA license, and we can put them right to work. Vacaville was a key for ICON because you can manufacture in the state of California with a city like Vacaville leading the way.
I have flown the Icon airplane, and I tell you what, it's a great airplane. We've had a couple accidents, but the accidents, I can tell you, were pilot error, without a doubt. I landed on Lake Berryessa, made 9 landings on Berryessa, and it was like landing on smooth ice. It was incredible. A really good airplane. You can't stall the airplane either. That's what's amazing about it. You can put it into try to put it into a power stall or a low-speed stall, and you can't do it because it just stays level. And all you got to do is drop the nose down, and it's flying again. It's amazing. So big shout out for them, I tell you. Next is the fact that we also have Novartis was empty for a while, and we have a company, Design RX like in prescription, and they're going to try to do contract manufacturing in the city of Vacaville, which would be the first case of that in Western United States. The only ones that are on the East Coast at this point. So we're hoping that that really succeeds, and we're anxious for them to get in there and hire some people. I was approached by a guy one day here who wants to talk about apartments, and if we do that, we're going to see some high-rise kind of stuff coming up in town, not next to any housing that currently exists, so it's not going to be a problem. But looking forward, hopefully, to that thing coming to fruition. Also, this is like a super secret we're getting out here. Some people know. Super secret. People have asked me, now Hello Furniture just moved over to Alamo Plaza. What's going there? A lady on Travis Air Force Base asked me that yesterday, and I said, you're the first one to find out from me. That is Sprouts Supermarket going in there. So if any of you have ever been to a Sprouts, all of a sudden I hear people cheering. Two young ladies in the dental office when I went in for my dental appointment said, is Sprouts coming to Vacaville? And I said, yeah, they started screaming, running out of the building. I couldn't believe it. So it must be pretty good. All right. And also, of course, we try to make sure that the empty spaces are being filled, and they are. So we're very fortunate in seeing that as people move out. I understand Strings has moved out, and so there's a business that's looking to move in there already, too. So some good things ahead. Next slide. This is a big one. This is the one that says that we approved, the City Council, $2.5 million loan for construction of a water line that goes out to a piece of property out that's off of Vacaville Parkway, Midway Road, and Highway 505. And that adds 258 acres to our business park. And so once that gets in there, in fact, a couple of buildings are already being built or being planned to be built. And that's going to provide something that is very hard to find in the Bay Area anymore. Anytime you find anything over 100 acres, you're lucky. For a big business, they need about 100 acres. And so that's going to be really a big attraction for us as well. Next slide. Some of the new businesses we've talked about. If you haven't been to the Rice Barn, that's over there by Nugget Market. It's great, a little restaurant. It's a Thai restaurant, and it's also owned by the same people that have Buddha Thai. And so, you know, Buddha Thai was one of the top 10 restaurants on Yelp. In America, that's amazing. But in Vacaville, we got one of the top 10. As well as Dutch Brothers. Nordstrom Rack is open now, of course, at the Nut Tree. Amazon.com has built what they call a sortation plant. When you're big as Amazon, you can actually invent words. Sortation was a name that it means that it's not the final place that it goes, but it's the place where they sort things out and then send them off to the distribution centers. Let's go to the next slide. Coming attractions. Cream is coming to town. They're right over there by Comcast. Noah's Bakery is open, as I said, the bagels, New York bagels. Icon. What else do we have there, Jeremy?
The top center we have most people already know as the Save Mart Distribution Center in the business park. That has been purchased by LDK. It's over 800,000 square feet. And they're in the process of deploying that asset. They were so happy with the process as they came in, they've actually approached us about adding another 600,000 square foot building next to it because they see that level of demand coming to Vacaville in the next 5 years.
So that's 1.5 million square feet that somebody's going to be trying to, and I don't think they have an empty building in mind. I think they probably have somebody who's on the hook for taking over those spaces, and that'd be great. In addition to that, a small business is going to move in. I mentioned earlier that it was, there's a cough. I mentioned that it was, Springs was empty, and a company called Blaze Pizza is going to come in there. I don't know if you've ever heard Blaze. I see a couple of heads nodding. So that's another business that's moving in. I think that'll be fine. That's kind of like a Pyology, I believe, but I haven't been to one of those yet. Next slide. Okay, Jeremy.
Thanks, Mayor. Promoting community viability. As you heard in the testimonies from a lot of the business owners, quality of life's a big issue here. That's something we really take great pride in. It helps us in business attraction, but also just building a quality community. So if we can go to the next slide. A big part of that is being able to get out of your house and to where you want to go. And so in the past year, we were able to restore a lot of funding into our Public Works Department. We had very busy crews all summer. You probably saw them. We probably blocked your way coming to and from work more than once. We apologize for that, but we'll tell you that we completed almost $15 million in capital projects last summer. Our engineering department, Public Works, did an excellent job. Brought a lot of projects to fruition. We did 180,000 square feet of city streets last year. We're going to duplicate that again this summer. So you're going to see additional slurry seals out throughout the community. We also did 10,000 square feet of repaired sidewalk and 800 linear feet of curb and gutter repairs. So those crews are out, they're busy working, and we have the resources this year to get a lot of that done. So it really shows. One thing you don't see that often, our utilities department, our crew that takes care of the lines that are underground that you don't see, but when you flush it goes away. They've been very busy. Over 220 water service repairs last year, 500 water meters installed or repaired. And then we also did some major smoke testing throughout the city. It sounds like an odd process, but essentially we inject smoke into the sewer system to find leaks. To give you an idea how this can work, in Merchant Street, really almost just down from City Hall, had a situation where a storm water was above a sewer line. Both lines had cracked. So when it rained, the water was going directly from the storm drain directly into our sewer system. And all of a sudden we're getting all this sewer that we couldn't explain where it was coming from. So those types of things, given the huge amount of lines we have underground, constant testing is needed. Some of those lines are 70 years old at this point. So we're constantly looking at those, and they're doing a great job keeping up with that. Jepson Parkway, if you're on the side of town, Jepson's been a major undertaking. To give you an example, there's 5 phases of Jepson going from Highway 12 to Highway 80. We have 1A. That project is nearly completed. That was a 2.5-year projected project. The contractor approached us and said, look, if you can coordinate some closure, we think we can shrink that to 13 months. And so we decided 13 months of pain was better than 28 months of pain. So that project has gone very quickly. As you can see, some nice landscaping. It's divided 4-lane each way. There's a roundabout at Vanden. So this process has gone really well. Timing's gone really well, to the point that last Tuesday night, the mayor and the council approved a funding agreement with the STA, and they're forward funding Phase 1B, which will take this project up to Sequoia, so almost to the highway. That was a direct reflection of the fact that we delivered the job on time, on budget, and quickly. So that process, that funding will show up in 21-22, so we'll begin finishing that project up quickly. I think we have a few more photos of Jepson. VPAT improvements, if you've been over to the VPAT lately. Last year was a fresh up for VPAT. New paint, new carpet, new seats. Seats are very comfortable, by the way, if you've been there. They turned out very well. It looks really nice, and VPAT continues to perform well. All the shows we bring in have been doing extremely well. We have Los Lobos this weekend, correct? Los Lobos this weekend, Sarah Evans coming up in April. So the entertainment's been doing really well. Attendance is great. After 25 years, it was due for a refresh, so it looks really nice. They did a great job. In our planning and building department, just to give you an idea of what happened in 2017, 317 new dwelling units, with almost $50 million worth of non-residential construction. Building inspections, 15,600, averages out about 62 per day. So very busy building department. One of the things that we often hear, Mark and I especially, from the development community, having those inspectors available when they need them to move the project forward, to not delay, is a very important item and something that the development community talks about a lot. Time is money, and so one of the things we've done really well is make sure that we have the resources on board that when they need it, we're there. So it moves those projects along. Roberts Ranch, I know Alan lost quite a few hairs over this project, but so Roberts Ranch came through the entire city entitlement process in 2017, and so it is completed and ready to go. That's Fry Road in Alamo. East Main District, this is a project near and dear to a lot of hearts that we've been working on for a couple years now. So what you see here is kind of a preliminary rendering of East Main and Wilson. So it's a bottom ramp of retail with apartments above. I will tell you in the current plans, there's one coveted apartment that, I don't know, we may start fistfights over. It's actually a 2-story townhome built into this project with a downstairs and an upstairs master suite. So nice project overlooking East Main and then Andrews Park. You can notice a lot of balconies. Second part of this project is the Obasquez Deli site, McClellan Depot. Really enjoy the fact that the developer loved the idea that Depot truly was Depot, that at some point fruit came there, was loaded onto boxcars, it was sent back east. So they're really hanging on to that image. You'll notice the barn influence, the wood materials, some tin materials, really kind of remembering the past of that area while bringing in a new modern structure. So next we have maintain effective, efficient city services.
Yeah, and in order to do that, you have to have a good city council. And so show this next slide here. There they are. Okay, we can put the real council up now. There we are. So we have a very cohesive city council. I want to thank Ron for being here, but also the rest of the city council members. We all work together. You know, politically we are very different, but when we vote on things, it's almost always a 5-0 vote. because we want to do what's best for the city. And I appreciate the support of Ron and Curtis and Delana and Mitch. They all do a great job. And we all get along, which is kind of unusual for city councils, I'll tell you. In the past, you probably know, we've had some little fun and games with the council. Oh, by the way, Jen Aldrich from the Planning Commission is here, and she works hard with the commission, so give her a round of applause. So anyhow, storm. We had a lot of rain last year. If you don't know, between July of 2016 and July of 2017, we had 47 inches of rain. Normally we get about 23.5 inches, so just about double the amount of rain. And we were holding our breath many times because, as you know, back in 2005 there was a flood in the city of Vacaville. And we've been trying to build detention basins ever since. We've got the first one built, but we need 3 more. We have run into some problems. We have Native Americans who have property rights in some cases, and they say there have been some spiritual connections to the properties that we've tried to develop. And so they work nation to nation and not nation to local government. So we've been having some run-ins with how we're going to get that accomplished, but we're still working on it. But this is the kind of stuff that Public Works has to deal with. A tree there at the Lattice Creek Bridge, and they had to get it out during the storm because it was still going to rain some more. So they got out there and they managed to clear the creek so that it wasn't blocking the water coming down. And for every foot of water that we get down here, there's about 2 feet up at Mount Vaca. It all comes down across Pleasant Valley Road, and then we see it coming through the city. So that first detention basin really worked well, but we also got to thank our crews who are out there at night trying to clean up everything that's happening to us. Next slide. Measure M. We're not going to talk much about it tonight because we're going to have forums that people will come and be able to tell us what we think we should spend it on, as well as there's a survey online that you'll be able to access and then put your things in priority. It's very hard to do considering the amount of money that comes in. By the way, Measure M money will start coming in April, but the first time we see any of it will be in July. That's the first time we get payments of the tax money. So with that, I think it's back to you.
And just, Mark has actually pulled up the survey. So if you, the City of Vacaville Measure M, what we've done is we've created a prioritization survey. This lists all the projects that have been identified in a project list, and it's asking the community to give us some feedback on, of the economic development projects identified, how would you rank the priorities? It's a simple drag and drop survey. You can grab any item, move it to the top or the bottom. It'll automatically sort them through as you go. So we're going to be launching this week, asking for the community's input. It's a quick way to get a broader range of input from the community as opposed to a public hearing that not everyone can make it to. So this is going to be launched fairly soon, hopefully end of the week, right, Mark?
It will be live at the end of the day today.
End of the day today. Some new welcome aboards. I think Aaron is still here, yes? Aaron Bush, our new Assistant City Manager, came on board in 2017. He's helping out tremendously in the development side, working with the development community, working on some big plans, doing some environmental work that needs to be done. One of the things we've tried to identify is how can we be more competitive as we look at attracting businesses, and one of the issues that always comes in is time. And so we're looking at doing a large environmental review of our business park area to try to get some of the environmental work done ahead of time. So if your business comes in and you fit that environmental box, we can move you forward in a 100-day period. So that's a goal we're doing. It's a big goal, and we're working on it, and Aaron's leading that effort. He's the new guy, so I put him in charge of marijuana. So he's been working on the marijuana team. We call it the C team, the cannabis team at City Hall. So he's been busy with that. And in addition, one of the major projects coming out of the general fund, or general plan, is doing our AB 1600, our development impact fee study, updating our fee structures. Aaron's leading a team doing that. It's very in-depth, long process, but we're well underway. So we'll be talking more about that in 2018. You can't have a community without community services. So a lot of great programming going on throughout the community services realm. If you don't know, in April we have our large sign-up event, our extravaganza. That will be at the end of the month in April. That's where we register folks for classes. To give you an idea, last year's Recreation Expo, we did $82,000 in class reservations in a single day. So it's a great opportunity. We set up the booth to show all the different programming that's going to be available for the summer especially. And you get an opportunity to see stuff up live and in person. We did 638 facility rentals last year. And one fun note that the guys put in here, Creek Walk last year, the Terry Sheets Band concert on June 30th was the largest Creek Walk we've had. We had over 7,000 people in attendance to see one of his final performances. I think he's kind of beloved in the community, and it was great to have an opportunity to Vacaville send him off right with one of the largest concerts ever. Graham Aquatic Center. Here you go, Whit. I got photos for you. It's underway. So one of the things that was allocated in the 2017 budget was a renovation of the Graham Aquatic Center. Just wear and tear of the years of service. It's a highly used pool. These are photos literally from just a few weeks ago before the rain started. The plaster's well underway, redoing the slides, redoing some non-slip material around to make it safer for the kids. So we're excited to see that. Our goal is to open that up at the end of May as part of the Memorial Day opening. So you'll see a brand new Graham Aquatic Center come May. Lagoon Valley and the scourge that is the ticket-taking machine. So I will have to say, so one of the things of charging for parking in Lagoon Valley is to create resources to invest back in Lagoon Valley. All of those funds go directly back into the park. We tried to automate that to make it a little easier this year, and I will have to say, it was a lot harder than we thought. The machine we went with did not work well. It's currently out. We took it out altogether. We're switching to a different vendor. One of the issues out in Lagoon Valley is there's no electricity. And so it's really hard to put in electronics with no electricity. So we have a company that does it with solar. We're working with them, so that'll be installed soon. Plan is to take that money to reinvest not only into enhancements in the park, but we'd also like to add a park ranger program at Lagoon Valley. Being a large regional park, we'd like to have the ability to have a presence out there on a regular basis, especially on the busier weekends. It's a funding issue, so we're hoping investing in this, getting those parking receipts going, will allow us to turn around and put that into those programs. It's a great asset. It's such a great regional park. The city has a real jewel, so we really want to make sure we keep investing in that program. Alamo Creek Restoration. This was a wonderful program that I think flew under the radar for a lot of people, but we completed in 2017. So the Bike Trail Creek Restoration was completed in 2017. It was 100% grant funded. So it was a program that we did new native plantings along the trail. We created 2 native plant demonstration gardens along the trail. So if you bike this, you'll see some nice demonstration gardens of local plants. And we also removed the majority of the aggressive grassweed called arundo, which I guess is the scourge of Creekside, because it was really, really hard to get rid of. We spent a great deal of time with that. So that improves the creek water flow, which helps not only with the flooding issues, but also makes for a smoother creek. So that program, a lot of volunteers with that. Is another great example of we located grant funding, we found volunteers, and we made a great project happen. Social media efforts citywide. We're trying to highlight a few of these here, but Mark is really the dawn of the social media world. He does a lot of this programming. But so Mark, why don't you just give a quick kind of update of our efforts this year?
Yeah, sure. These are, we already talked about the police department. We have community services has a page, fire department, of course. Our economic development page is also out there. And of course, the public information office. At one point, we had a whole lot more, and it was just confusing a lot of people. So we've gotten our departments to kind of consolidate things down, and I would say altogether we probably have about 50,000 followers, and then when you add in the police department, that's another 30,000. So we reach a lot of folks with our social media efforts, and not only with Facebook, but we use Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and maybe the best part is it's free. So you can do boosted posts. We've only done that a couple of times. They've had great success, but for the most part, it's a tool that's been really effective for us, certainly in getting information out to residents in a super timely fashion. I'll go back a couple of years when we had that big plastic fire down in Fairfield, and there was this big, huge black cloud heading towards our community, and I called Fairfield and said, what should I tell people? Tell them to stay inside if they live in this area. Great, I posted it. Literally a minute later, it was on the crawl of the TV station that was covering the event. Vacaville advising residents to remain inside if you live in these neighborhoods for the next 2 hours. So clearly, it works.
Thanks, Mark. Who would forget 2017 and Leisure the Sea Lion? So if you recall, mid-March of 2017, a 400-pound, 4-year-old male sea lion showed up in the irrigation canals in Leisurestown Road, quickly named by the locals as Leisure the Lion. He was a regional sensation, covered a lot of news along the area, and he spent a couple days in Vacaville before heading out to the Delta and hopefully for a long life at sea. Not nearly as fun as Leisure the Lion. Here's some financial information. See how I did that? I butter you up, then I'll just give you an example where we finished 2017-18. This is the general fund. This is the main fund of the city. Operating revenues, a net operating loss of about $347,000. Our transfers out represent funding to other funds and other entities. So for example, in that $2 million figure, there's transfers out for capital projects that the city performed. There's funding out for the library system to VPAT, a lot of those areas. One-time expenditures in 17-18 were unique. We had an opportunity, because of some good revenues in the previous years, to increase some funding to catch up on some items we had lagged behind during the recession. Great example of that is our capital equipment, getting our service vehicles up to speed. We have a chart that essentially shows us when we should replace our vehicles. We'd fallen behind on that, so we were able to take some one-time money to do that. Part of that one-time money is invested in the Graham Aquatic Center. It was a one-time capital project that was needed. So we're able to do some of those items because we had a healthy fund reserve. You see the Measure M revenues at the end. We ended the year with an emergency reserve of $22 million, which is 28% of our operating expenditures. Council policy is 16 to 20% for a fund reserve. So we had a healthy fund reserve at year end, and we stayed well within our guidelines. If you wonder where the money goes, here's our general fund breakout for expenses. Public safety makes up 69% of the general fund budget, 8% for public works, 11% for community services. General government is everything else that doesn't fit into the other pies. So that represents about 12% of the general fund. This is my favorite slide. It warms my heart. So what this slide shows, in 2008, that was our property tax. If you notice, that line goes all the way across and you don't see it again until 2016. FY 2017 was the first year our property taxes recovered above pre-recession numbers. So while the recession's long over, the impacts to the communities, and I know the school district feels this same impact, we're just now recovering. And so we were happy to see that. We lost essentially almost 10 years of that basis, but we are at least now back and trending above where we were in 2008. The mayor wanted to give you a tourism brochure, so we've added some.
Well, you know, there's many things we don't have on slides that we talked about, but we do have a lot of things that other communities don't. You know, we have a bowling center, for example. We got an ice skating center. We have a radio station in town. We got an airport. We've got so many things here that are really a benefit to not only our residents, but other people passing through the city. So I just wanted to highlight a couple of them, and there they are. My timing was really good on that.
That was good.
All right. So, and there's activities now. One of the things that really is kind of warmed my heart is the fact that we're now filling in those niches where we didn't have any entertainment before. For the 21 to 35-year-olds, now we got 3 beer gardens in the same place. You know, University of Beer, we got BJ's, and now we got the Rock and Brews, but with the KISS band, and that's why we had them up there. I got to meet I can't remember which one. Yeah, Paul Stanley, and he was a cool guy, I tell you. And what you may not know about him, this is kind of another secret, is the fact that he was born without an ear. And so he didn't have hearing on one side of his head. And yet he wrote all these songs and he played music, and to be able to do that is just amazing. And he's a very intelligent guy. Looking at the picture, you wouldn't think so, you know, when you see the way he's painted up. But they're now, you know, the franchisors in this whole process of building them. And that Rock and Brews is the first one in Northern California. They own 5 down south. And so we're very pleased that they chose Vacaville. I asked him why they did. And he said because when talking to people here, it seemed like the friendliest city that he could find in Northern California. That was basically it. It had nothing to do with location or anything, but he said, I just wanted to go someplace where people are friendly. And that warms your heart, it really does. So, and I want to close to tell you that we lost Steve Hardy and Pauline Clancy within the last year. Both really good people. Pauline had a great following. She was a tough lady, but she also served her constituents very well. So she wasn't easy to deal with, but that was her nature, and there are a lot of people that really applied to her for kind of help that they needed, and she gave it to them. Steve Hardy, he had a big heart. He loved Vacaville. In fact, I quit after 8 years and retired because his uncle once said to me in a donut shop, "When are you going to retire and let my nephew be the mayor?" And I said, "This year." And so Steve, I supported him, and he did a great job, and he did what was right for Vacaville, and I really do appreciate the hard work that he put in. So I want to just remember the people in the past who have worked so hard to make this city what it is. It's a great place to live, work, and play. And we will take questions. Oops, I'm sorry, we're almost out of time. No, anybody have questions? Whit usually has a question or two. Nothing this year?
Good behavior today.
Oh, thank you.
We have one in the back. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Hi, do you have an opening date for Sprouts?
Do we?
We don't.
We
No,
don't.
We
Well,
currently don't.
The building was just emptied, and quite frankly, what we're trying to do is work with the owner of the entire center to see if they can spruce it up a little bit too, and I think that'll help. But that is going to generate, I think, interest in the other empty facilities there, and having the furniture store over there now, as well as the other things that are happening in that area, I think Sprouts is going to really attract other businesses to come there. Anybody else? I want to thank you for being a very friendly audience. Sometimes it's not that way, but our city is very good. We love being, and Ron can attest to this. People have their fingers pointed at you, but then when you give them the answers and everything, they walk away very happy. Everywhere you go in this city, you always find people who come up to you and say, "I just love Vacaville," and they tell you all about why they do. Met a couple the other day who came up to me and said, "We lived in another city. It's a neighboring city. I'm not going to mention it." But he said, "We lived over there, and our friends have been telling us for 18 years, you got to move to Vacaville." He said, "We moved to Vacaville 2 years ago, and we are just the happiest we could ever have been. He said, we should have moved years ago." And I think that's what it is. We've got a good school system. Jane does a great job. She's out in the community. Here she is today, listening to us, And so that's what's... Yeah. Thank you. So, well, I think I talked right through the questioning period. Well, we got one.
Well, it's not a question, it's a kudo to the residents of Vacaville. I was involved in the nomadic sheltering this year of our homeless population, and we had over 1,500 volunteers in the community to make that project happen.
Wow. And you're right. It's one of the most giving cities in all of Solano County, in fact, in California. If you took out Relay for Life and you ask how much money other cities are bringing in, and Jan can attest to this because she's been on their board, Vacaville is always 30, 40% above our neighboring cities and above most of the cities in California. It's just an amazing place. When there's a need here, people step forward and they participate in trying to provide good help for other people. We got a great fire department, we got a great police department, and as I walk around City Hall, I'm always amazed at the quality of people that we hire and how long they stay with us. Very, very seldom do people leave before the retirement. I mean, they just stick here with us, unless they're going to become the chief of police somewhere, or whatever. So anyhow, thanks for being here today. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. It's the first time I saw it. So, good job, Mike.
So thank you for your attendance today and your interest in our local community, and we will see you at our next event. Thank you.